Happy Monday and all that good stuff. Just get into the chat and I'll say hello. I will not start a lesson unless someone's in the chat. I'll talk, but I'm not going to start a lesson until someone else gets in the chat. Okay, today's lesson, the paradiddle ostinato. We're going to use the Gary Chaffee book for the foot patterns and the stick control book. So please, get into the chat, no matter who you are. For enemies, we'll be friends today. Please get in the chat. Paradiddle ostinato. First off, what's the meaning of an ostinato? Hey, John, how are you? Can you hear me, John? Okay. We're working with the paradiddle ostinato, and like I asked, what does the term ostinato mean? Well, it's a repetitive pattern which continues on and on and on. Say we're doing an ostinato pattern like we're going to do today with two limbs between the hi-hat and the snare drum. And we're going to do the paradiddle between those two voices. But I'm thinking of the paradiddle in a 16th note formation, like 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. I'm hitting a little heavier on the count of 2 and 4, and that sort of gives it a backbeat. So I'm going to keep playing that over and over again in the 16th note formation. Now, I'm not certain whether you have the pattern series of Gary Chaffee, but this particular lesson is going to be from his time functions. Do you have that book, John? And we're going to use the foot patterns from that page. I think that's page, was that page 11? No, let me get my glasses. Yeah, page 11. Do you have that book, John? If not, I mean, I haven't wrote out the PDFs for this because it's kind of simple, and you should have the book. If not, I will put together some PDFs and send them to you. So what you want to do, John, I don't know if you're on my mailing list or not, but you might want to get on it so you could get the PDFs and get it. If you're going to frequent the lessons on this channel and my channel, what we'll do, you'll get the agenda for the week. Here's my email. Okay, that's it's not a link, it's my email. Where are you from, John? And we have another guest. I really would appreciate it if he gets into the chat and says, hello, Matt. Like your lessons, or your lessons suck, or whatever you want to say. Anyway, you email me, John, and I'll send you the PDFs for today. Now, you should get the book because we're going to be doing a lot of work from time functions if you frequent this channel and the channel for tonight. My lesson tonight is at 7:30 on my page. So number 3, please get into the chat. All right, like I was saying before, we're going to use the paradiddle ostinato. And we're going to think of the paradiddle in 16th notes, like 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. So we get that going on. gets a little funky sounding. Now, what are we going to do with the bass drum? Well, from time functions, the first exercise he has naturally is playing the bass drum on the counts of 1 and 3. So I'm going to do it really slow, break it down, and kind of build up the speed a little bit. So I'm thinking 1, E, and 2, E, and 3, E, and 4, E, and a little faster. 1, E, and 2, E, and 3, E, and full speed. Again, slow. 1, E, and 2, E, and 3, E, and 4, E, and 1, E, and 2, E, and 3, E, and 4, E, and okay, Mr. John, do you understand that? Okay, so the first one is he has the bass drum now on 1 and 3. Now, there's a couple definitions for what we're doing today. It's either you permutate, means to move over 1, or this is part of a grid. The grid is you move over 1 note. So we're going to say permutate as opposed to the grid. So we did 1 and we did 3. Now we're going to do the E of 1 and the E of 3 against that pattern. That's the ostinato pattern, paradiddle. So I'll do it slow. Now the bass drum, instead of going 1, E, and I'm moving the bass drum over to the E. 1, E, and 2, E, and 3, E, and 4, E, and now you have to be careful with this one because you cannot let the foot dictate the sound of that drumstick. I get a lot of guys trying this and they're going 1. That sounds terrible, not musical. They hit the left hand harder. And they shouldn't be hit that hard. They should maintain one balance. So you're going to put the bass drum on the E of 1 and the E of 3, nice and slow. You understand it, John? 1, E, and 2, E, and 3, E, and 4, E, and Now, I'm playing the ostinato on top. The rhythmic pattern is the same, but you have to go to the sound. The sound has to be the same. You can't give me... It's terrible. So you have to give me... Okay? So now we have the 1 and the E. We understand this so far, Mr. John. And we're going to take the bass drum. Okay, I don't know what soak is. That's, I guess, California. Houston. You live in Houston. Everybody lives in Texas. Okay, anyway. We did the 1 and we did the E of 1. Now we're going to go to the and of 1 and the and of 3. 1, nice and slow. 1, E, and 2, E, and 3, E, and 4, E. Again. 1, E, and 2, E, and 3, E, and 4, E, and you do, you understand. All right, good. Anyway, now we did the 1, the E, and the and. Now we're going to go to the da. Now these become pretty funky. So let's try the da of 1 and the da of 3. But notice, check out the hi-hat, how I'm playing that hi-hat and the snare drum. I'm trying to be as consistent in the sound as I possibly can. And also I'm dropping on the count of 2 and 4, a little bit of a backbeat. So now we're going to the duh, nice and slow. 1, E, and 2, E, and 3, E, and 4, E, and 1, E, and 2, E, and 3, E, and 4, E, and a little faster. Now, once you've been hanging out with the first 4, that's the bass drum on 1 and 3, then the bass drum on the E of 1, the E of 3, then the and of 1, the and of 3, then the duh of 1, and the duh of 3. I like to start from the beginning, each one time. Over and over again. Now that takes care of the first 4 from Gary Chaffee's book, Time Functions. Then he goes on. The next movement, it's actually number 5 in his book. He has the bass drum is going to be now on the 1E and then the 3E against the paradiddle ostinato. So here we go. Nice and slow. Okay, and then number 6, the bass drum is on 1 and 3 and. So nice and slow. All right, the next one is on the 1 and the duh of 1. It's on the 3 and the duh of 3 against the pattern. Nice and slow. Then go to number 8. The foot now is on the E and of 1 and the E and of 3. Yeah, well, I've met David Garibaldi a few times, and I also had an interview with him on this channel. And then he's a hell of a nice guy and a really funky drummer. And I do a lot of work from his book, The Code of Funk. Now him and Mike Clark are like brothers, man. They grew up in the same place, and you know, they hang out together. Just recently, I think David Garibaldi has been taking some lessons, I think, from Bruce Becker. Bruce Becker is a hell of a drum teacher, man. He is a really, really good drum teacher. I love the guy. I met him, and he was going to come down. He was just at DCI, and he was going to do a show for me. He said next time he comes to the East Coast, he will do a show right here for us. Yeah, I know. The connection, it's the stream, man. It's not the stream. It's not YouTube. It's the internet in general that's slow. And there is a bit of a delay. Okay? Now, we're going to do the E and of 1 and the E and, I think that's where we are, right? The E and of 1 and the E and of 3. So we got 1 E and, I'm sorry, 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 3 E and 4 E and you using Wi-Fi or a phone or what are you using there, John? Again, let's do the E and. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and. All right, we're going to take number 9 this time. Number 9, excuse me, number 9, the bass drum is on the E and the duh of 1, the E and the duh of 3. Nice and easy. A little faster. Okay, now we're going to go on the and of 1. I'm not familiar with that kind of phone, but that's okay. That's why you got a slow reception. If you have a computer, you're better off watching from a computer. That's why the lines are so slow. Everybody's on a phone, on the internet, and the traffic is immense. So the more traffic, you've been in a traffic jam, you should know, stop and go, stop and go. Well, that's the same thing with the internet. All right, so we're going on the and of 1 and the and of 3. Here we go. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and all right, we're on number 11, and we're going to go 1 E and then 3 E and is the bass drum part. Okay? The next one is hard to explain. It's on the 1 E and the duh, 3 E and the duh. So you have 1 E and, sorry, 1 E and 2 E and. And the next one's on 1 and 3 and. Okay, here we go, number 13. 1 E. Now you get really funky with this stuff as you pick up the tempo. Now, excuse me, number 14 is E and of 1, E and of 3. And 15 is 4/16. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4. Here we go. Now, what's a good warm-up for this kind of stuff is that last one. Instead of just doing 1 and 3, do 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and all the way through for 2 or 3 minutes at a nice tempo. That gives you an opportunity to kind of adjust your voice sounds So you're not getting accents here where they don't belong. The ghost notes are all the same. The backbeat is popping, and the bass drum is right there. Do that for 2 or 3 minutes and you'll be happening. Well, you don't let it groove. It's a pattern. You can never let a pattern groove unless you're playing to music. And there's a definition that should be set forth right here. A groove. What is a groove? You're in time, yes. Is that a groove? Part of a groove. But you're taking what you're doing here and you're interacting. See, these are just exercises. There's nothing, it's musical to a point because it's mathematical, it's broken down slow. But if I were to use any one of these formations with, say, Tower of Power, that's a good example. I'd play the foot pattern maybe with the bass player or the horns. And I have the option of playing exactly what they're playing or filling in what they're playing. See, a groove does not exist unless there's 2 or 3 people together and they're all in the same zone and they're having a conversation with each other. That's a groove. You know, when you say groove, you have to have music. This is mathematical. This is exercising and controlling what you do with your bass drum against your hands. That's what this is. But yeah, you could say, I guess it's a groove. Now that, to me, is not a groove. That's a pattern that's at a certain tempo. I have nothing to groove to. Do you understand that, John? Anyway, that takes you. I'm going to stop at number 15. If you want to frequent this channel, this channel and tonight's channel, get the Gary Chaffee pattern series, and I work a lot from the time functions, and I also work with Gary Chester's New Breed. But most definitely the stick control book. Every drummer should have one, without a doubt. I have a stick control book in every room in my house, and that's including the bathroom. That's the best place to have one, I guess, for a while. All right, you understand, right, John? That's good. All right, I'm just, it's not just for you. I didn't throw that at you. Whoever else is watching and listening, or whoever else will be watching and listening. I just need to make that clear. Okay, because a lot of the drum language should be universal, but it's not, and it gets confusing, especially for the younger guys who are just starting out. This blast beat thing, what's a groove, what's molar. I mean, to me, there's no such thing as molar. Accents and Rebounds is absolutely a great book. I don't work out of Accents and Rebounds no more. I should. The reason why I put that, was that? Who is it? Ed, what's the matter? You wake up late? You had a gig last night? That's okay. I'm going to be doing the same lesson tonight on my channel. It is free. Oh, I forgot to tell you that also, John. Let me give you the address. You might want to take, I'll give you the link. I don't know if YouTube will put it up. That's my page. I do lessons there on Monday and Wednesday at 7:30. However, I'm keeping it open free for a while longer. But there's going to be a time where I'm going to have to close that down for a fee. Yeah, it's a philosophical concept, I guess. I don't know. I don't want to get into semantics because, we could sit here and have a conversation, and it's kind of difficult me talking to a screen. But it's understood what a groove is. Okay? What these are developmental exercises to control your bass drum against one's particular pattern. Now, it's not a groove, it's a pattern. If I was using one of these patterns inside of a musical situation and it was happening to the bass player and to the horns and to the lead singer, that is a groove. That's not philosophical. That's a fact. There's a difference between the technique and a groove. I could play the same song night after night after night and feel different about it, but play it the same patterns. The groove has to happen with the other musicians. Okay, so that takes care of 1 through 15. Now, what we're going to do from this point, I only have a few more minutes. From this point is go to the stick control book. Now, John, do you have the stick control book? You should if you're working out of accents and rebounds. And John, are you in any of my Facebook groups on Facebook? Well, okay, John, I'm not going to argue about it. That's my opinion, okay? So we'll put that aside and we'll continue with the lesson. Now, do you have the stick control book? Yes, Mr. John? Okay, good. You have the stick control book. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take page 5, and like I said before, that exercise that we did before with straight 16ths. Okay, that's an exercise to really get the foot loosened up inside of that pattern. So what we're going to do is take page 5, but we're going to interpret page 5, the lines differently. It's written as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4. And we're going to consolidate those two measures as a 16th note pattern. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Now, we're going to look at the page, we'll look at the line, say, okay, number 1, we're going to eliminate the lefts. And we're just going to play the rights, but this time we're going to play just the rights with the bass drum. So that gives me with my bass drum 1 E and a 2 E and 3 E and a 4 E and. If I did the same interpretation, which you're going to be doing with this exercise, on number 2, the bass drum moves over on the E and the and. The E and the dub rather. 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. You go to line 3, now it's going to be coming 1 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. And that's how I'm interpreting and I'm referencing from that page. By the way, Ed, I'm going to be ordering your books today. You should be getting them sometime next week. They're coming from the publisher. So I haven't forgotten about that. Okay, you understand where I'm coming from, John and Ed, where how I'm interpreting the stick control book. And we're going to play that pattern, the ostinato pattern. I'm on line 1, my bass drum's on 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. You can find, okay. The art of drumming is one of the groups. There's 12 different groups. Okay. Here we go. Now we're going to play the 8th notes against the paradiddle. Now that's the 16th. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and. That's my interpretation. And 1 E and a 2 E and a. Now, the next guy On line 2, the bass drum's going to the E and the do. So you have 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Got a little distracted with the AV person. I'm going to have an AV person come occasionally, okay? And he's going to help me out. It's so difficult watching the screen, concentrating on what I'm doing, and trying to answer questions all at the same time. So that's not even multiple tasking. That's insanity tasking. And I'm trying to do the best I can. Anyway, I'm going to have a drum machine. I have a drum machine, the Roland R70, and I'm going to start programming some lessons. Instead of using just the metronome, I'm going to do an ostinato pattern, not necessarily between the hi-hat and the snare drum, but let's talk about, for example, the cascada. We all know what that is. Casada, cascada, however you pronounce it, I don't know. Let me see if I remember it. And then 1 E and a 2 E and a. That one. What we're going to do with that, we're going to put it to the drum machine, and I'm going to jam off of that. Now, John, I'll bet you I'm more weird than you are, John. I studied with Joe Morello and a few other guys. I was with Joe Morello for like on and off for 30 years. And, you know, it's not being weird, it's being universal. You might say one other thing that I'm saying, but yet we're on the same page, we're meaning the same thing. That's what I mean by universal. That's where drumming, the language of drumming becomes confusing. All right? You know, you come up with hybrid rudiments. What in the world is a hybrid rudiment? Well, it's a combination of 2 or more rudiments. Freddie Gruber, oh God, did you study with him? I mean, the guy, you know, he had something going on philosophically. I never really heard Freddie Gruber play. Him and Buddy Rich were great friends, and I'm sure that he's helped a lot of people when he wasn't stoned. That I don't respect. But unfortunately, he got hooked up, and that's not a good thing. I really liked Freddie Gruber because, you know, you take somebody like John, what's his name, Neil Peart. Neil Peart took a few lessons before Freddie's death. Dave Weckl did, and I guess a few other guys. I don't know anybody else that has. All I know is when I mentioned his name, when I was taking lessons with Joe, Joe kind of chuckled and laughed a little bit. But, I mean, I never heard him play one stroke at all. So I don't know. Philosophically, you know, this philosophies and bullshit. And you take out what you can. Now, I'm the type of guy that's up front, and I say the way I feel. And I don't really care if I hurt people's opinions or not, because if they cannot accept the truth, I apologize. They should go see a shrink. Anyway, I'm just going to do a few other pages from the stick control book. I mean, the lines. I have to close it up now. But, John, come on back. I like your attitude. You have a good one. Ed, yours is okay once in a while. But, Ed, you coming tonight? And, John, can you make tonight? Now, John, if you're in California, was that a 3-hour difference? 7:30 would be 4:30 your time. I know Ed is from the East Coast. You studied with Freddie Gruber for years. Okay, good. That's interesting because, all right, well, we can compare approaches. That's a better thing than it's a good thing. I really would appreciate that. My lesson tonight is free, as like it is now. So if you can come up there, don't forget, email me. I hope you're working if you need the money. If you're not working, that's cool. You're in Central Time. All right, that's a 2 hour. Is that a 2 hour difference or a 1 hour difference? I'm not sure. If it's a 1 hour difference, it's 6:30. 2 hours is 5:30. Okay. All right, well, I'll still be on. Ed, I'm going 7:30 to 8:30. Definitely the hour. Okay? With all this being said, don't forget to email me, Mr. John. Email me, I'll send you the PDFs. Not a problem. Guys, have a good rest of the day, or however you want to call it. Okay? 1 hour difference, right. All right, so that would be 6:30 your time, John. And Ed, it's going to be to 8:30, man. It's not a problem. I'm going to be doing basically the same lesson. When you come in, I'll just kind of revisit some of the things. All right. But don't forget to email me, John. I have to close this up right now. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming. And for all the people who are watching, did not get into the chat. I have quite a few enemies, I think. Okay, good enough. Oh, there goes my glasses. This old age shit sucks. All right, anyway, if you come tonight, I'll see you guys tonight. Whoever else is in the chat, not in the chat, if you want to come tonight, come. It's free. Have a good rest of the day.